Money does not make you wealthy. That is the part almost nobody wants to hear. Money reveals the person you have already agreed to be. This is why more money can pass through a fearful identity and leave almost nothing behind. The number changes. The state remains poor, and the old self quietly recreates the same pressure in a more expensive form. Neville was not teaching people to worship money. He was pointing to the state behind the money. Because the world does not answer what you want. It answers what you are conscious of being. That is the hidden turn. You are not waiting for wealth to give you confidence. You are learning to stop outsourcing your identity to a number. A person can have little and still begin to occupy abundance. A person can have much and still live terrified. So the question is not, how much do I have? The question is, who am I being while I look at what I have? That one question exposes everything. Because lack is not only an empty pocket. Lack is the inner voice that says, I am not safe yet. It is the way you shrink before making a decision. It is the way you apologize for wanting more. It is the way you treat every expense like a prophecy. And once that state becomes normal, the world seems to agree with it. Not because the world is cruel, because consciousness has taken a position. Let me tell you about Daniel. Daniel worked in a small office and lived carefully. Too carefully. He counted every small purchase, delayed every personal need, and carried a quiet embarrassment around money. On the outside, he was responsible. On the inside, he was always bracing. Every bill felt like an accusation. Every invitation felt like a test. Every price tag seemed to ask, who do you think you are? Daniel had been trying to manifest more income. He repeated phrases. He imagined better days. He even wrote down a number he wanted to earn. But after each imaginal act, he returned to the same identity. The man who hoped money would finally rescue him from himself. That was the real problem, not the amount, the self-concept. One evening, Daniel stopped in a grocery store after work. He picked up 3 ordinary items. Then he put one back, not because he truly needed to, but because the old state wanted to feel small again. He stood there in the aisle and noticed the feeling. It was not wisdom. It was fear pretending to be discipline. That moment changed him. Not dramatically, not with music in the sky, just a quiet recognition. He had been asking abundance to arrive while practicing the posture of someone who did not expect to be supported. So Daniel made a different decision. He did not start spending wildly. He did not deny his responsibilities. He simply stopped treating himself as a man waiting for permission to feel provided for. That night, he sat at his kitchen table. He looked around his small apartment. Nothing had changed, but he said inwardly, "This is not the home of a desperate man. This is the starting room of a man who is already valued." Then he cleaned the table. He organized his papers. He opened a notebook and wrote down one skill people often asked him for at work. He was good at simplifying messy systems. He could take confusion and make it usable. Before, he gave that ability away casually. From the old state, he thought, who would pay me for this? From the new state, the question changed. How would I offer this if I knew my value was already accepted? That is living from the end in practical form. Not pretending to be someone else. Not performing luxury. Not forcing a feeling. Simply moving from the identity that has already been approved. The next week, a coworker complained about being overwhelmed with a personal project. A small business she helped manage had messy records. Daniel almost gave advice for free. That was the old reflex. Then he paused. The new state spoke differently. He said, "I can help you clean that up. I charge for that kind of work." The sentence was simple, but to Daniel, it felt like crossing a bridge. Not because money had arrived first, because identity had arrived first. She said yes. The job was not enormous. It did not solve his whole life overnight, but it proved something more important. The world had started meeting the version of him who no longer begged to be valued. That is the principle. The state comes before the supply. The self comes before the scene. The inner agreement comes before the outer arrangement. And this is where people misunderstand abundance. They think abundance means pretending bills do not exist. It does not. It means you stop letting bills name you. You still act. You still plan. You still make wise choices. But you no longer move as the rejected one. You no longer make money your judge. You no longer wait for the world to say, "Now you may feel secure." Security is first accepted within. Then your actions begin to carry a different tone. You speak more clearly. You notice opportunities you once dismissed. You stop selling yourself from fear. You stop hiding your gift because the old self feels unworthy of receiving. This is not magic as escape. This is imagination as identity. Neville's teaching is sharp because it removes the excuse of waiting. You cannot say, "I will become abundant after abundance arrives." That is backwards. The state must be entered before the evidence can mirror it. So begin where you are, not with fantasy, with identity. Ask yourself, how would I carry myself today if I were already the one who is provided for? Not reckless, not arrogant, settled. Would you speak to yourself with contempt? Would you avoid the thing you know you should offer? Would you keep shrinking every time life asked you to stand upright? No. You would move with quiet permission. You would answer the email. You would make the call. You would clean the room. You would prepare the offer. You would stop waiting for confidence to fall from the sky and begin wearing the state now. That is the door, not the money, the state. Because money is an effect. Opportunity is an effect. The right conversation is an effect. The cause is the identity you accept as true before the scene changes. So do not ask money who you are. Tell money who you are by the state you occupy. You are not the one begging life for proof. You are the one who has accepted value within. You are not chasing abundance from the outside. You are becoming the consciousness from which abundance is natural. And when that becomes normal, your world must begin to reorganize around the new owner. The old self waited to be paid before feeling worthy. The new self feels worthy and moves in a way that can be paid. The old self watched every number with fear. The new self uses every moment to remember, I am already provided for. That is the shift. That is the wealth before wealth. And once you become faithful to that state, life no longer meets the beggar at the door. It meets the one who has already entered. And if this message resonated with you, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, because what you learn next could change your life.